What if everyone got a monthly check from the government? One afternoon in the final days of 2016, Steffi Aronen got a phone call from her husband, Juha. The Aronens had spent Christmas with relatives in Savonlinna, Finland, and Juha had just made the 2-hour drive home so he could return to his job as an electrician. The couple lived with their 5-year-old daughter in a cozy 2-bedroom apartment in Mikkeli, a quiet, mid-sized city in the southeastern part of the country. Juha was calling to let his wife know he was home safe. And oh, by the way, an important-looking letter had arrived for her from the Social Insurance Institution of Finland, or as everyone calls it, Kela. "Open it," Steffi said. There was a pause as Juha tore into the envelope. He laughed. "You got it," he exclaimed. "Got what?" "Basic income," Juha told her. "You're in the program." Earlier that year, Finland had announced that an unprecedented socio-economic experiment. 2,000 residents would receive €560 a month, about $670 for 2 years, with no strings attached. And the government would study how the money affected their lives. Specifically, Finland wanted to know if the payments, called basic income, freed up people to take part-time or freelance work as they looked for something permanent, stopgap measures that the country's existing benefit system tend to discourage. To that end, it selected participants who were unemployed and poor. Steffi, 38, was both of those things, and for months she and her husband had joked that she might make the cut. Chances were slim. The names were being drawn from a pool of about 177,000 people. "Haha, very funny," she told Juha over the phone. "No, really," he said. The couple had been together for 7 years and married for 4, and they have the kind of affectionately antagonistic banter that develops when two people are raising a small child in a small apartment. They went on like this until Juha finally hung up. A few days later, Steffi came home and read the letter herself. Over the next 2 years, Finland was going to give her €13,440, about $16,000. With it, she could do whatever she pleased. Basic income is, as the name implies, simple and earnest in its intentions. It assumes that a society thrives when its members are cared for, and so seeks to provide them with the means to care for themselves. In its truest form, Universal Basic Income, or UBI, money would be given to everyone. Warren Buffett would get it, LeBron James would get it. So would drug addicts and convicts and people who create Instagram hashtags for their dogs. Technically, Finland's experiment wasn't universal. But if the government liked the results, the hope was for the system it eventually implemented to be so. With the U.S. facing growing income inequality, a tenuous healthcare system, and likelihood that technology will soon eliminate many jobs, basic income has been catching on stateside. If predictions from places such as the consulting firm PwC and the McKinsey Global Institute are right, tens of millions of Americans will see their jobs become automated within the next decade. These losses would be in addition to the 7 million manufacturing jobs the U.S. has shed since 1980. Such pressures have prompted business leaders like Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg to praise the idea. There's a pretty good chance we end up with a universal basic income due to automation, Musk said on CNBC last year. "I'm not sure what else one would do." In July, Hawaii became the first state to legislate a formal study of basic income. "We have a heavy reliance on tourism and other service-related sectors of the economy, which are more susceptible to automation. This is an effort to look at possible solutions to that," said Chris Lee, a Democratic state representative who introduced the bill after reading about basic income on Reddit. Y Combinator Research, an offshoot of the Silicon Valley Incubator, is also planning a 5-year study involving 3,000 residents of the 2 yet-to-be-announced states. This project will be bigger and longer and will involve larger payments, $1,000 per month, than Finland's. But its $60 million price tag will be privately funded and administered. an approach that would be nearly impossible to scale. We're free from political whims, says Elizabeth Rhodes, Y Combinator's Basic Income Research Director. But we can't do this without the government's help. When Aronin got her letter, she was a year into an online training program that, if she passed, would allow her to apply for a full-time social services program at a university. It wasn't going smoothly. Originally from Germany, she'd moved to Finland in 2011 to be with her husband, and she didn't speak Finnish well. She'd tried to learn, but in 2013 she was diagnosed with breast cancer. The subsequent years of treatment, on top of caring for her daughter, left her with little energy or time to study a new language. Aronin had also never graduated from high school. I was lazy. I didn't see a point, she said, shaking her head at the teenage decision. But now I have no jobs I can take, and I have to go back to school. She could complete her coursework just fine, but she tended to get flustered on group assignments and timed exams because she couldn't read Finnish fast enough. Her unemployment benefits, which came to about €950 a month, had been tied to her enrollment in school. They'd be canceled if she didn't pass her classes. But basic income is no strings attached, Aronin said. Even though the amount of money is less, there's a sense of freedom. I could get a part-time job. In March, 2 months after the payments started arriving, she applied for positions at a supermarket, a post office, and a few shops, work she couldn't have taken while remaining on unemployment. She didn't get the jobs. By June, her excitement about basic income had waned. I haven't decided if I like it or not, she said. If I don't find work, then nothing has changed. Kila's researchers originally envisioned the experiment as the first in a series that would help them understand the implications of expanding basic income nationwide. With basic income, there will be a lot of winners, but there will be a lot of losers also, Kenga said. We have to study the losers. For one thing, he points out, to provide Finns with a level of financial security they enjoy under their current system, basic income payments would have to be at least twice those of the trial, and to pay everyone, the country would have to change its tax structure. The wealthiest would be relatively unaffected by such a change because their taxes are already high, but a swath of middle and upper middle class Finns would pay more in taxes than they'd get back in basic income. In national polls, when the possibility of a 55% flat tax was raised, the percentage of Finns who supported basic income dropped from 70 to 30. Finland won't wrap up its study for another year. By then, Y Combinator Research's larger experiment will be underway in the 2 U.S. states. It will be based on a preliminary study of 6 low-income Oakland residents who receive $1,500 a month for a year. When Rhodes, the organization's basic income director, sat down with participants afterward, she said she didn't hear of anyone that made big, life-changing purchases or quit a dead-end job in a huff. Instead, people had simply taken a financial sigh of relief. While universal basic income seems like a good solution to those in desperate places, or even those at the top, it would end up being a complete disaster, as the study in Finland has shown. Taxes would be outlandishly higher, creating more poverty, and more families dependent on basic income for survival. It would slowly swallow up all of the wealth until everyone was on the same economic level. Poor. It would create, as Elon Musk calls it, people who are like house cats. There would be less meaning or initiative to take, less human interaction, leading to mass loneliness and unhappiness. It's interesting to read about the effects in a small-scale experiment that revealed just that. It isn't improving the recipients' lives in the least. What do you think of universal basic income? If your country offered it, would you accept? Thank you so much for watching. God bless and carry on.